Welcome to Night Hug Stories. This is your quiet moment of support before sleep. If you pressed play on this video, maybe your heart is carrying something it can't seem to put down. Maybe tonight, that weight is guilt. Maybe it's about something you said, something you didn't say, a moment you handled badly, a person you hurt, a choice you wish you could take back. Or maybe it's something smaller, quieter, but it still follows you into the dark when the day is over. Guilt has a way of staying late, long after the conversation ends, long after everyone else moves on, long after the moment is gone. It lingers in the chest, in the stomach, in the replaying mind. It whispers, "You should have known better. You should have done more. You should have fixed it. You should have been different." And maybe part of you believes that if you keep replaying it, if you keep punishing yourself, if you keep carrying it heavily enough, then somehow it proves that you care. But tonight, I want to offer you a gentler thought. Feeling guilt does not make you bad. Sometimes it means exactly the opposite. Sometimes guilt appears because you have a conscience, because you care deeply, because your heart notices when something feels out of alignment, because you wish you had caused less pain, not more. And that matters. A person who feels guilt is often not a careless person. Often, it is someone who has loved, tried, failed, regretted, and wished that they could go back and do better. Someone human. And being human means there will be moments you are proud of and moments you are not. There will be things you understand too late, words you wish you had softened, silences you wish you had broken, times you acted from fear, exhaustion, confusion, or hurt instead of wisdom. That does not erase the impact of what happened, but it does mean the full story is more tender and more complicated than shame usually allows. Because guilt often turns into something harsher in the dark. It stops being, "I wish I had done that differently," and turns into, "There must be something wrong with me." But those are not the same thing. One is a sorrow about an action. The other is a wound aimed at your entire self. And tonight, maybe we can separate them a little. Maybe you did make a mistake. Maybe you did hurt someone. Maybe there are things you would change if you could. But that is not the same as being beyond forgiveness. It is not the same as being ruined. It is not the same as being undeserving of gentleness. Sometimes guilt tries to convince us that suffering forever is the most honest thing we can do. As if healing would be dishonest. As if rest would mean we didn't care. As if self-forgiveness were a betrayal of the people we hurt. But endless self-punishment does not heal the past. It only keeps pain alive in the present. And you are allowed to want something more healing than punishment. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to grieve what happened. You are allowed to make amends where you can. You are allowed to carry responsibility without crushing yourself under it. That last part matters, because responsibility and cruelty are not the same thing. Accountability and self-hatred are not the same thing. Regret and worthlessness are not the same thing. You can wish you had done better without deciding you are unlovable. You can feel sorrow without becoming your own lifelong enemy. You can take what happened seriously without abandoning yourself forever. Maybe no one ever taught you that. Maybe you learned that the only way to become better was to be hard on yourself. Maybe you learned that guilt must always be heavy to be real. Maybe tenderness feels suspicious to you now. especially when it is directed inward. But gentleness is not the same as escaping responsibility. Sometimes gentleness is what makes responsibility bearable enough to actually transform you. Because people rarely grow well in the soil of constant self-contempt. Growth needs honesty, yes, but it also needs safety. It needs truth spoken without destruction. It needs a place inside you where your worst moments are not the only moments that count. So tonight, if guilt is here, let it be here honestly. You do not have to pretend you feel fine. You do not have to quickly turn this into a lesson. You do not have to rush toward neat closure. Maybe tonight is simply for admitting, yes, this hurts. Yes, I wish it had gone differently. Yes, I am carrying regret. And yes, I still need kindness while I carry it. That too can be true. Maybe the part of you holding guilt is exhausted. Exhausted from replaying. Exhausted from judging. Exhausted from trying to rewrite what cannot be rewritten. Exhausted from being both the wounded one and the punishing one inside the same heart. If that is true, then maybe tonight that part of you does not need another lecture. Maybe it needs a place to sit down, a quieter voice, a softer room, a hand on its shoulder, even just in imagination, and maybe a few words like these. You are allowed to feel sorry. You are allowed to care deeply. You are allowed to wish things had been different. And you are also allowed not to destroy yourself because of it. What happened matters, but your life matters too. Your future matters. The shape your heart takes after this matters. The way you speak to yourself in the aftermath matters. Because guilt can become something sacred if it leads you back toward truth, repair, humility, and tenderness. But if it only becomes a cage, then it stops helping anyone. Not the people you hurt, not the person you used to be, not the person you are trying to become. So if there is something to repair, may you repair it gently and honestly. If there is something to apologize for, may you do it sincerely. If there is something to learn, may you let it teach you. But if there is nothing more to do tonight, then let tonight be for setting down the whip. Let tonight be for unclenching. Let tonight be for remembering that remorse is not meant to become your permanent home. You are not meant to live forever inside one moment. You are not meant to be reduced to one version of yourself. You are not meant to spend your whole life paying emotionally for something you have already carried in 1,000 silent ways. And if part of you worries that self-forgiveness means saying, it didn't matter, let me gently say this. Self-forgiveness does not erase meaning. It does not erase impact. It does not erase responsibility. It simply says, I will not keep harming myself for what I cannot change now. I will take the lesson. I will keep the tenderness. I will become someone softer and truer, not someone smaller and more ashamed. That is not denial. That is healing. So tonight, as you lie here, imagine placing this guilt beside you for a moment, instead of inside your chest. Just for a little while. Look at it gently. Not to deny it. Not to run from it. Just to stop fusing with it. And say, yes, you are here. Yes, I wish things had been different. Yes, I carry sorrow. But you are not the whole of me. You are not my entire name. You are not the end of my story. Because you are still more than this. More than one regret. More than one failure. More than one painful memory. More than the version of yourself that only exists inside the harshest replay. You are still someone worthy of rest. Still someone worthy of care. Still someone whose heart can become gentler, wiser, safer. And maybe tonight, before sleep, that is enough. Not perfect peace, not total closure, not instant forgiveness. Just enough softness for your breathing to slow, enough kindness for your shoulders to drop, enough truth for your heart to stop racing against itself. So if guilt followed you into this night, let this be the voice that meets it. You are not beyond repair. You are not beyond love. You are not beyond tenderness. You are not the sum of your worst moment. You are a human being who longs to do better. A human being who feels. A human being who carries regret because your heart is alive. And tonight, you do not need to punish yourself into becoming good. You only need a little honesty, a little rest, and a little mercy. Let that be enough for now.